Yo, welcome to another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K Sap. In today's show, man, this is a wild one, man. So y'all get on in here. But when you come across the video, make sure you share it out. Make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And make sure you turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball Dropping drops another hot banger. And if you first time coming across this channel, please hit the subscribe button. I see everybody in the comments section. Hashtag salute. On this channel, we cover sports, hot topics, round table talk, and a marriage chronicles. And you know what my mantra is. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you, but it might be for them. Well, you guys know that Stephen A. Smith went to his platform, went to his podcast, and belittled Jason Whitlock, called him all kinds of names, called him a fat turd, a fat slob, a fat bastard. And he said, man, he wants one time and permission from his ESPN bosses to light off in Jason Whitlock's ass. Basically what he said, he wanted to drop the nuclear bomb on him. So now, as I'm closing up my night, I get a notification that Jason Whitlock has responded to Stephen A. Smith. So I did my research, caught some audio of Jason Whitlock and Steve Kim on his podcast Fearless today, stating what is going on. And basically, this is what I don't get from Jason Whitlock. Stephen A. Smith, on many occasions, has tried to assassinate your character. And all your responses have been passive aggressive. And when I say that is because you'll take time out to try to belittle Deion Sanders and what he is doing up there at Colorado, calling him non-Christian. We're worshiping a fake God. Deion is a fraud and things like that. From a guy that has not said anything negative about you, hasn't said anything about you to warrant what you have said about him. But on the other hand, Stephen A. Smith, Kwame Brown, Charleston White, and guys like that have called you out many times, but you have a passive response. Stephen A. Smith goes on his podcast and lets you have it. And the only thing that you have came back with is Stephen A. and Shannon Sharp need to calm down. And if they keep pushing the agenda, I'm going to expose them. Well, Whitlock, you haven't exposed them yet. I don't think you have anything to expose them. So today, listening to the podcast, basically what Jason Whitlock is saying, one of his ex-employees that used to work with him is now over there at ESPN crying on Stephen A's shoulder. Basically what Whitlock is saying, this person is giving Stephen A ammo, giving him intel on some of the things that Jason Whitlock has probably said about Stephen A. Smith. And that's why Stephen A. Smith keeps coming out saying the things that he's saying about Jason Whitlock. Because if you notice, it all started between a feud between Stephen A. Smith and Marcellus Wiley's over the Max Kellerman firing at ESPN. And basically on Stephen A.'s podcast, he deflected that and went straight off into a rant about Jason Whitlock. They have history. It goes all the way back to 2011. Like I said on a previous show, it all stems from the treatment that he had of one of Stephen A.'s good friend when he covered Allen Iverson back in the days for the Philadelphia Inquiry. And he was close with Allen Iverson. and Jason Whitlock made his assumptions about the thug that Allen Iverson was, and he was glad that David Stern changed all that because there was no place in the game for what Allen Iverson brought to the table. And Stephen A. Smith would always come to the aid of Allen Iverson. But Jason Whitlock, you would try to crucify somebody that has not said anything publicly bad about you. Some cryptic tweets that might have been leaning towards you, but publicly with a microphone in his face, he has not even mentioned your name, Jason Whitlock. And you still keep trying to slander that man's name. But when somebody comes at you full throttle and you have an opportunity to defend yourself and say things, you're passive. So on your podcast today, listening to what you said, I'm like, man, this can't be real. So I want you guys to take a listen to what Jason Whitlock had to say on his podcast with Steve Kim. Take a listen.
Narrative. And then, quite frankly, Steve, it's crystal clear that a former employee of mine, Uncle Jimmy, has found a new shoulder to cry on. He's turned away from Curtis Scorned and now has started crying on Stephen A. Smith's shoulder, Uncle Jimmy. And so what I would say is that, you know, everybody here, Shannon Sharp needs to be careful. Stephen A. needs to be careful. Uncle Jimmy needs to be careful because there's always two sides to every story, and they're really barking up the wrong tree. And so what I'm going to say this and irritate people, but that's just what I do. I'm going to invite Uncle Jimmy onto this show. If there's anything he wants to air out,
oh boy,
love to have him here on this show. I also want to make it clear to Uncle Jimmy that if you want to go on Stephen A. Smith's show and say anything, please do. I will not hold it against you. I will not. There'll be no lawsuit. Whatever this NDA that you're talking about that you're telling everybody you had to sign, please ignore that. Get it off your chest, with your chest out as boldly as you'd like to. Please do. But just understand that by doing it, go on Stephen A. Smith show, come on this show. But just allow me to explain my side of the story. And so if we're all good with that, I'm certainly all good with you saying whatever you like to anybody. You don't have to just go whine on Curtis Scorn's pillow. You can go on Stephen A. Smith's show and say it with your chest out. Stephen A., have him on. I would love it. I would love it. Then tune in and listen to my explanation. And we'll see. We'll let the chips fall where they may. So that's all.
Man, Whitlock, man, you was a clown, man. Whoever he's referring to, this Uncle Jimmy character, it's crazy because of what Whitlock is saying. He wants this person to come on his show, or you can go on the Stephen A. Smith show, and we can air our grievances out that way. Like Ticket TV said, he always running from the smoke. But you want to chastise Deion Sanders. And when Stephen A. and these other people call you out, your approach is different. I know there's two sides to a story, but in this case, you say it with your chest, because it seems to me that you're ducking from it. And you talking about Stephen A. don't want them problems with Marcellus Wiley, but you running from Stephen A. Stephen A. has obliterated you on his podcast in front of a national audience, and this is how you respond? We can only expect this of Jason Whitlock. We can only expect this. Fool's gold. People been telling you that Jason Whitlock is a fraud, man. I mean, whatever they're doing, they're going back and forth. Their ratings are off the roof, man. Their podcast, Stephen A's podcast and Jason Whitlock's podcast, their numbers is up, man. Kudos to that, man. Controversy sells. But y'all guys let me know what you think. Because Stephen A. Smith, he dropping bombs, and Jason Whitlock does not know how to respond. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I want to know what the problem is. So you guys let me know what y'all think down in the comments. Please share the video out. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. And that's going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. We're going to catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
Another one.